Hi, and welcome to the Grace Under Pressure podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Willis, and today I am joined with a very special guest. It is my professor, Erik Medlin. So why don't you introduce yourself?
All right, hey guys. Yeah, it's fun. Listened to a few episodes and really like what you got going on here, and so I'm just happy to be a part.
Well, thank you very much for agreeing to be on. So yeah, I wanted to get your perspective in opening up a gym and, how and why you started jiu-jitsu and what drove you to opening up the gym Pursuit Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay. Yeah, I can start with my journey
Yeah.
and then kind of how we landed here. So what's funny is I started doing Taekwondo at a younger age, and with that I did that 10 or 12 years. And so what's funny about that is UFC started to become a big deal, and me and the guys would watch some of the fights, and that's when it was newer. It wasn't brand new, but then we'd try to imitate them. And so after we would train some striking and some Taekwondo after class, young guys will do, we took off our shirts and we're already sweaty and nasty and too much information, but so you can just imagine this crazy scene. So we're just like acting like we know what we're doing. We have no idea what we're doing. We're jumping on each other, like falling off and slipping, a whole lot like no-gi, what no-gi looked like tonight, except with shirts on, right? And so, we're choking each other out with these really like street, techniques and janky jiu-jitsu. We had no idea what we were doing, but we were very intrigued. And so I just remember it starting then, as a young guy, just being fascinated with it, and just seemed like a limitless world. And so let's try to fast forward a little bit. Then there was a group of us who trained some MMA just for a little while in a judo school in Watson. And we were just kind of, after their judo classes, we would do some of the mixed martial arts, and felt like that was a real natural fit for me, and I really liked it and started to learn some of that. And so then and there's competitions mixed in and out through my journey, and finding out what really what jiu-jitsu really is. So that's a whole nother story. Some of my first tournaments really funny. And but to fast forward a bit, then I was actually serving at a church in New Roads, Louisiana, and that's when I looked up jiu-jitsu. I found Professor Nathan, who's my professor now, and he was like 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
So started doing classes with him a bit, and then we had our firstborn, and I thought it was smart for me to stop for a little while and focus on our family. And to come full circle, months later, Professor Nathan and I actually started serving at the same church together. And so I was able to pursue jiu-jitsu more. And so that's when it really picked up. I had a knack for it. It was a lot of fun. I just wasn't able to pursue it long enough during those previous times. But for the first time, 2015, 16 or so, is like when I pursued it real heavily, like all in, and it didn't take away from my family. They were able to come to class. Some of the kids were getting older. And so then, let's see, fast forward a bit, I was able to get my blue belt, and I was really close to purple belt. And the way that things go with working in the church, there are different seasons where you may be at a church for a while, or you may feel moved to move on. So, we moved on from Louisiana to Brookhaven, where we are now, Brookhaven, Mississippi. And so we didn't see any, strictly Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gyms in Brookhaven or close to within driving distance. And so we just, I talked to Professor Nathan. I said, hey, is this something we could do with your help? Just be close by, supervising, making sure I'm not doing anything foolish. And between counsel from him and seeking my wife's input, which is most important, of course, praying about it, we decided to open the gym here. So that's a little bit of my journey to jiu-jitsu, as well as what led us to opening it up here. And Actually, we will be coming up on 5 years
Yeah.
being open here soon,
That's
like
awesome.
November 1st.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. So, and I know that's something because I didn't start my journey here, which is I get to see the benefit of all the hard work you've put into it. I didn't see the grind at the beginning, but one thing I've noticed that's really special about this gym is just how many women and teens are in this program, especially given it's a smaller demographic here. It's, what, 30,000 people maybe in this area?
Yeah, and that's just extending, into the counties and
Right.
everything. So there's not that many in the city, but yeah, certainly a few more outside of the counties. So
Yeah. So what do you see the special sauce there to be a gym that is so unique in that it is so welcoming to women and teens as well as men, of course, too?
Yeah. Just for the record, I think it's hilarious when you say sauce.
Yeah.
Every episode I've heard, or the times I hear it, I get so hungry, and that's just my attention, problem. And so now I'm thinking about like different food with sauces and stuff. So just to let you know, for you and your listeners, every time you say that, it cracks me up and I love it. So it's funny. Okay, so like let's say having a gym that's welcoming to ladies. Was that the question?
Yeah, ladies and teens,
Yeah. So I was able to visit a few environments, and Professor Nathan and his gym, they do a really good job, as well.
Yeah.
And so I have visited a few, so I'm not speaking like, some may only know the gyms. They think that the only gym I visited is his, so I'm not just speaking like about his or anything. But I was, I visited a lot, and there were some gyms where it was welcoming, and you could look around and see the demographics or the group of people. And you could tell like some gyms were welcoming and would put forth the effort to include the like ladies or teens or just anybody. And then there were some gyms that it was just about like winning and being number one and all about self, and guys would take their shirts off, and that's fine. I still see that at gyms that are welcoming, and some are like by the beach, or that's in their culture, and that's fine. So not knocking on that, but it just wasn't, the language was off-putting towards women. And so anyways, just from previous experience, I really just kind of figured out what I wanted here. And so I just primarily wanted a family environment.
Yeah.
And so that included everyone. I wanted like tough, like guys my age, younger, older, it didn't matter. I definitely wanted that. But I wanted for mom and daughter to train together as well. And we've had instances of that. And so I also wanted teens. I just wanted for people to walk in the gym here in Brookhaven and to feel like, man, this is a professional place. It's just not a bunch of younger people beating each other up.
Right.
It's professional, and it includes, ladies. I'm not uncomfortable here, or I feel comfortable leaving my teenage son or daughter here.
Right.
And so we've really tried to promote that here, and we've done that in many ways, or a variety of ways. And so that's just caught on. That's been the tone, that we're welcoming of all, and we really put forth that effort. And there's specific ways that we do that. We could go into that. I don't know if we may run out of time, but there's some certain things we do here and phrases that we say often to help promote that environment.
Yeah, for sure. I can say that I think on every single episode I try to stress to the kids, because as a teacher, like, hey, come on out, we're welcoming, especially ladies, come out. Now, of course, I'm about 30 minutes from where I teach, so it's kind of hard to get them here.
Yeah.
But I've just noticed in the way that you teach, and then when we have some of the students who are higher ranks, and when they teach, they model what they see, which is really great and inclusive and warm teaching. Is there anyone you've modeled your style of teaching after? Is it something, because I know you're a youth minister, is that just something that it just naturally carries over in dealing with kids and families?
Yeah. I mean, I have influences in jiu-jitsu that I really enjoy studying. And, I have my professors, Professor Matt and Nathan. They keep it simple, pretty straightforward. and it's easy to understand the way they teach. Someone else I've really just enjoyed over time, and my students may get tired of it, but on a higher level, like not higher, but like a professional level, black belts out of one, at the adult level and the ADCC level. I've always gravitated towards Professor JT Torres, and his teaching is easy to understand, and the way that he teaches with his words, so for example, like he may say Lego man hands or something, just to be, just as an example, and kids, like, they understand, like, oh man, that's very visual, so I'm visual, and so there's some others, but especially those three, and paired with that, is I guess it's more of a personal route in my life. I have taken the route of being a Christian, and so with that, there's different not perspectives, but different values that I have, and I do feel that some carry over, and I feel like it's okay. Like that's what I've loved as a side note about jiu-jitsu, is that there's so many different walks of life that can come together, Christian or not. People of different jobs, students. I mean, man, and like you come together, you train, you do life together, you share life, and so I've seen some people in our gym, help each other out, maybe financially. One of the guys allowed another to borrow their truck for a week, and so, man, that's really cool to see that. But to come all the way back, there's definitely outside of those three individuals and others. There's definitely a Christian aspect to me personally, and so that has an influence.
And I mean, just knowing you personally, I can definitely see that carry over, and it's one of those things where it's not like you're cramming religion down somebody's throat or something, but you're letting the fact that is such a central tenet to Christianity and being a family and being loving. And I really do think that extends over into how you teach. And I think especially too, when you bring up jiu-jitsu and people reaching out within our own team of all different walks of life, it's just so cool how jiu-jitsu, and I know there's other sports out there that do it, but really and truly, if it wasn't for jiu-jitsu, I wouldn't know a lot of these people. We're just in totally different avenues.
It's so cool. Some nights I just like put my back on the wall mats, and I just look around, the mats, and I just am taken back at how genuine it is. The conversations and like y'all's story, y'all found you and Ben got married, and some like I've seen, and that will develop that would be best friends with someone, or friendships for life, and it's just something kind of pure in a way, and very genuine about jiu-jitsu, and it's kind of like you put away your lifestyles to come together, possibly to be under one team, maybe there, you visit around, but where you just, man, you celebrate jiu-jitsu, and I mean, there's something about you need people to do it. And there's a lot of times where you trust each other in the positions, and there's just so much, man, right there. So, so there's a lot of times I'm just taken back, and it's just really cool moments where I look around the mats and, watch people that normally wouldn't hang out outside the gym. They hang out, or maybe they start hanging out outside the gym because of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And maybe that might be, and this is just me thinking and not wanting to put words in your mouth, but that might be one of the big reasons why our gym is so, able to draw females and, teens, is because we are really and truly, and I'm sure that's the case for a lot of gyms that are healthy, we are a family. It's not just a one man like, I'm awesome,
That's it.
It's not one person jiu-jitsu and fitness, it's pursuit. We're all pursuing something together.
That's it. That's why I didn't want my name on the logo, and that has its own place and purpose. I think that's cool to create your brand. I could certainly do that on the side, if I wanted to, and that's great. But to go back, I really did want for us to celebrate around a name. It could have been any name, really, and we're just coming under one team banner, and I tell our students this often, that you are only as good as the person next to you. So as you're lifting them up and you're helping them get better, then they in return, they help you get better. And so it's like you get investment, you get a return on that investment.
Yeah.
And there's some other, whether it be attitudes or sports, where it's very central, centralized, focused on the individual or athlete. Oh, I can't believe you're going to hurt him. He's supposed to make it. He's D1 athlete, and you hurt him. Or, watch out. Take care of that person. Or there's all the attention. But in like jiu-jitsu, it's level playing ground. Yes, there's some that are more talented or gifted in different ways. There's some of those that try hard. Train harder.
Yeah.
And you see some differences for sure, but man, like, you really are only as good as your teammate, and that's rewarding because if that is the environment and you go out and you see your teammates compete and you see them win, you celebrate that win with them. So it's not only an individualized sport and effort. There's some aspects of it. You have to show up, you have to work hard, hopefully eat well, and maybe do some supplemental training. But there's something to be said when someone wins, like, you feel like you're winning with them, or if they lose, you feel like you're losing with them, and you just can't wait to lift them up when they come outside the mats and just support them, be there for them. And that's one thing we say here. You're only as good as your teammate, and some other things that we do and say. And I tell the kids, and adults already do this anyways, but I tell the kids, like, all right, stand up, shake your partner's hand, or high five them as your teammate. You think it is, oftentimes it's just you in your head, and you can be alone, but it really is a team effort.
Absolutely. I know one thing you've said, and I've seen the memes too on like the Facebook.
All the memes.
Yes. Of stop trying to win the round.
That's it. I love that popped up and that circulated like a few weeks ago. That's true, man. Like, because, and I think Professor Nathan has said this too. If you try to win, then you're eventually going to be upset. And will probably quit because you're not going to be the best one all the time if that is your focus, And so that's what we'll see from the kids to the adults is some will come in with maybe some athleticism. They're very good and they rely on that and their physicality perhaps. But then you have the others who are grinding, who are studying, who are trying hard. The techniques are sticking. They're leaving their ego to the side, and they're really open to what jiu-jitsu offers, and they let jiu-jitsu take them. And you start to see that gap bridged, and the athletes, get left behind if they don't, subject themselves to jiu-jitsu and the techniques. If they only rely on their athleticism. And I did that early on. I was like, man, I could just be so rough and just try to out wrestle people and just try to end up on top. And listen, around blue belt, like, that starts to not work. And purple belt being the first advanced belt, man, you're going to get smoked.
Yes,
and,
they call it the blue belt blues for a reason,
That's it. So maybe that's why I drop out.
Maybe.
They finally get to blue belt, and then, like, that athleticism doesn't, get them as far as it did before. And there's some other reasons, but that's just a little side joke about, blue belts. So.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about, the culture of our gym. How do you, as a professor, as a gym owner, how do you preserve that gym culture? Is there a one-size-fits-all answer to that? Or
man, that's good. That's a great question. You wish there was like a formula, I think that that always has to be worked on, preserved. Like, let's say an endurance runner or athlete or someone that lifts weights. I mean, if you just try super hard for a little period of time and then just stop, and what happens, right?
Yeah.
You lose that form. You lose that endurance. And I think that's the same, it's, and just trying to keep that up, working hard for that, reminding everyone that. And you have people that buy in, that really love that. And so, like, if I'm out, yourself, Ben, others, a lot of senior people here at the gym, I mean, you guys really strive to keep that up. And I'll get texts from you guys all the time, hey, this happened, but we talked about it, we squashed it, just wanted to let you know. And so not only is it something that you constantly work on, but I believe it's having the people, your members, your students, your teammates buy in, and you're all on the same page, and it makes it so much easier, you know.
Oh yeah, about to say, and that's the easy and hardest part of it, is creating that buy-in.
Yeah.
I know coaches will, I'm sure, give numerous examples of trying to create a team culture, you know, and how hard that can be, but at the same time, it's the most crucial thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's difficult. I always look up to those that are in coaching, you know, positions, especially in schools, because they try so hard for a few years and then they lose the students.
Yeah.
And that happens with us, but we do have some that stick for years and years, and that's so great. And so hats off to those that are, you know, coaches that try so hard and then they got to do it all over again.
Yeah.
And in some ways we replicate that. You know, we have new students come in. And I'll tell you on a side note, that is really heartbreaking, by the way,
Yeah.
you know, listeners. When you quit and let's say you're established, you're, man, a great teammate, you offer a lot for the team and you quit, we feel that. You know, the professor, the coach feels that. Your teammates feel that. And so, I mean, we're putting effort into you and when, or the person, and when they quit, man, that hurts, you know?
Yeah.
And so it is like starting over. And so on one end, it's discouraging, but then you get the new teammate that's fresh and ready, and you never know. This could be the next black belt.
Yeah.
So you gear back up and do it again. So and in some ways, we are like coaches that have revolving doors of students coming in and out. But,
Sure.
but we are fortunate that they can stay for years. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, you know, sometimes, you know, the old expression is it's not who's good, it's who's left, you know.
Wow.
With black belts and stuff. Yeah, you know, obviously, if you're a black belt in jiu-jitsu, you're definitely good. You know, you're not like garbage or something like that.
And I want to speak on that because I remember I was very lucky early on. I was able to watch Professor Nathan get his black belt. And it was a huge organization, and I was probably 4 rows back in a huge auditorium. And I remember as I looked down at my white belt, and I had a blue uniform on, I believe, and I just said, "There's no way I can get there." But I said, "You know what? Time will pass, and I can get there." And I tell that to students. I say that, you know, often, especially the kids. I just try to keep motivating them. I feel that by the time you're older, you're kind of self-motivated or not. Which we all need encouragement, but kids, I try to stay on a little bit. But I just tell them, you know, time will pass. It will happen. No one has defeated time.
Yeah.
Like my friend, shout out to Chris, you know, Huffman on this, and he says like Father Time like is undefeated. And we're starting to understand that, and which is another side note. It's funny when you're Master 1, like you hit 30 and you celebrate, you know, which is a whole another conversation. But yeah, it's undefeated, but it doesn't only have to be discouraging. My point here is like it's encouraging. Time will pass, so show up and train, and you will get promoted. I mean, unless you just come and lay down, like you're going to get better. It might take you, you know, longer.
Yeah.
You know, if you're just chill about it, a hobbyist, which shout out to hobbyists. Man, I love you. You know, like my students who are like, that's the majority.
Yeah.
You know, we're not making a living off this stuff. Like we just love it. And so anyways, yeah, show up and time will pass and you will get promoted. So that's just a little memory I had. I remember that, and so I just extend that. I don't know where we got off on that. That was my fault. But
No, that's fine. That's good. And I think about I think it was on the Joe Rogan podcast where they talked about examining the skeletons of the English longbow guys, and over time and all that practice, they weren't able to, I mean, this was a bunch of force they had to pull back, that their bodies literally reshaped themselves to be able, and like it just changed their skeleton. And again, that's time. They couldn't do all those moves when they first started pulling back the bow.
That's true.
But time and repetition, their bodies physically adapted.
I really wish we could go back and roll against our day one selves.
Oh gosh.
Would you watch that footage?
I would watch it. I would watch it.
Would it be embarrassing
Yes.
or like encouraging? Like all in one? We say that
gosh.
sometimes, maybe here. I don't know if other gyms maybe comment. on some of the social media,
Yeah.
posts if y'all have talked about this, but we talk about this. Like,
Oh gosh.
it's kind of funny, like, man, if I wrestled my day one self, I would, smoke myself.
Gosh, if
My guard's so much better than it was before,
I was trying to do takedowns and pressure passing,
Yeah.
and that's not my game.
Were you doing that tonight?
No,
Or
I
just
wasn't
like-
doing that tonight.
I was
No.
like, Sarah had, a life change. And
Oh, gosh.
Jiu-jitsu change, I mean.
Oh yes, complete. Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, look, day one of my jiu-jitsu looked a whole lot different. Man, like, even stylistically.
Yeah.
And so, hey, I'll ask you that. I know you're the host, but I'll, like, kind of spin
my
it on
gosh.
you. So,
Oh no. Okay.
why is it, how do I put it in words? Your style, how did you get your style? How did you come to be the Sarah Willis, like, purple belt that you are today? How did you land in your style? Mine, I kind of do some goofy stuff on my back,
Yes, you
some
do.
guard stuff. It's like, what is going on?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's my game. Like, so yeah, there we go.
Okay.
How did you get to your game? From kind of like white to purple. Did that
Okay.
happen quick?
No.
Or-
No.
Or like where you knew that you were going to land?
Let's see. Well, when I first started, the only thing I knew was just try to get to side control. I thought
Yeah.
that was it, side control. And I remember I was rolling with Sarah Phillips. I don't think she still does jiu-jitsu. She got the blue belt blues.
Okay.
And she said, just try to hold me here for the next 4 minutes
Yeah.
or something like that. And then that's good. And so that's what I try to do. And I remember my first ever competition, I did a hip bump toss and I stayed in side control. I didn't really know what else to do.
Positionally dominant, though.
Yes.
Go
and
ahead,
so,
white belt Sarah.
yeah. Had no answer after that, but that
That's
I
it.
could get there. And
Street fight, you're a gold, though.
yeah, absolutely. No. And then I remember watching Brad Phillips. That was her father.
Yeah.
And just all the crazy stuff he could do with his
No
legs.
kidding. Yeah.
And
Shout out to the Phillips.
for sure. And I thought, man, there's never. He showed an ankle lock. I'm like, I'm never gonna get this. I'm never gonna. And if you know my game, if anybody's ever rolled with me, that's what I go for now. And I just really wanted to get good at that. And I just modeled after people that I saw that were doing really well, and I wanted to be like them. And so, kind of like the "be like Mike," kind of thing.
There you go.
And
90s kids, what's up?
yeah, and
Even though he played before then. So,
yeah, for
and
sure.
Before and after.
for sure. But yeah, I think that's kind of how I got there, and I just hours of repetition and some really good advice I got was from a now black belt, Chris White. He said, every 3 months have a goal of whatever that position is, and that's what you get to, and that's what you
Yeah.
work on for 3 months.
That's so good.
And that's what I did. And then I eventually X guard made sense, single leg X made sense. All these positions that were like a Rubik's cube at the beginning now made sense because I
Okay.
was just so dedicated to it. And then and I was realizing I wasn't getting as smashed as much when while I was up underneath people. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how I
Okay.
figured it out.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's good.
But they're just trying to survive because I had no ladies to roll with when I was going. I had one or two, but nothing like we have here, which is something I just cherish so much because when I came here the first time, I was just like really aggressive because
Uptight, like,
Yeah.
okay, like ready to go,
yeah, because it was literally I told Ben, I said, people are throwing the entire kitchen sink at me every time I roll, and so I'm fighting for my life. And then I come here, and it wasn't like
Yeah.
the culture here was not that aggressive, and my technique got so much better. I was able to explore and not think I'm gonna die today. So
And that's one of the avenues I said earlier on in the podcast. That's such a big conversation about ladies and teenagers training with adults. And there's different avenues you can go. And one avenue I'll go down, right now is, what helps out. Let's just say a lady and a adult male, like rolling. What helps out is if there is this mutual understanding of we are going to match strength and speed. Like if you're trying to get better at jiu-jitsu, both parties will benefit. Now, one might argue, okay, well, that doesn't help if it's a street, self-defense issue. Like, yeah, that's a whole other conversation, though.
Yeah.
But we're, like, trying to, who can even do that? Like, let's say two teens or two males. Like, if you just try to go 100%, like, quote-unquote street mode, you're eventually going to get hurt. There's no longevity in that training.
Right,
So, like,
right.
let's put that aside. Okay, so we're here. That question's brought up. Well, like, oh, well, the streets and all this. Like, okay. But, like, yeah, match each other's strength and speed, and there will be technical exchanges. And I have learned so much, watching my female teammates and all of my teammates, but, just to watch the technique, and just to let that play out, that is beneficial to both, and that's the conversation that needs to happen. And so we that's one thing that we try to promote, just match each other's strength and speed. Even an older adult male and let's say a younger teenage guy.
Yeah.
And I know that there are some differences, hip flexibility or a
Sure.
spastic teenager, like I know there's some there's some exceptions to this, but generally if
Right.
two have their head on straight, like that's the way to train. And unless you're trying to do some comp training, which it's wise to get someone about your size, your rank, which may not always be available, but that
Right.
is the goal. So anyways,
Yeah.
just something to talk about for a moment.
No, absolutely, because I think that's one thing that I've heard, and it kind of experienced before is that, oh, well, I got to roll with the girl, and they'll be like, well, it's not going to be as good of a round. It's like, no, it can absolutely be as good of a round. And even if I'm rolling with a younger kid, like, some of the girls that, and the younger guys that I've rolled with here, they've got great technique. You just don't want to be, obviously if somebody, now Marlia is great.
Oh man.
She's a beast, but she's
Yeah.
12, and I keep thinking she's older than that because of her technique, and
Yes.
just she is very strong. But I know I could probably slam her and muscle out of
Right.
something, but that doesn't benefit me. That doesn't benefit her, and then it keeps me honest because if I'm rolling to match her strength and her speed, that makes me more cognizant,
No doubt.
and that gives her better training too. And so I don't know. I feel like the people who say, "Oh, well, that's not the street way to roll and to
Yeah.
fight," it's like,
That's
well, I mean, let's check the ego at the door. Realistically, on the streets, there's also going to be
Yeah.
a few other things
Yeah.
too.
That's it. And yeah, that's across the board. Well, it's like, no duh, if you punch me in the face, it would hurt, but we're not fighting right now, like go sign up and do MMA,
Yeah.
which is awesome. But, we're doing jiu-jitsu right here. So, yeah. All right, let's see.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just to go back full circle, and we can, talk about something else. But
Absolutely.
there was some early on indication of my game in blue belt, of what I'd be playing. And what happened is in blue belt, I started to loosen up on the things I relied on, which was just kind of athleticism and, strength and all that. And I loosened up on that, and I started to always find myself on my back doing just goofy stuff. And so then I just kept that in the back of my mind. Like, man, I'm good at it, and I see avenues, I see ways to develop that in some ways, but I wasn't quite sure how to carry that out. And so that really came to fruition. Like I fully acknowledged my game, purple belt, and I tell everyone from my personal journey, I love purple belt. I finally found what I was meant to do in jiu-jitsu, and tried to work it out, tried to really be good at it, and so that was the shift for me. Blue belt, I lost a great deal. I'm sure Professor Nathan needed some side counseling, watching some of the dumb things I did in tournaments, and God bless them, and coaches that have good patience. There's many times he would shake his head, and I'd shake my head, and we'd laugh. Sometimes we'd be upset. Man, I was so frustrating to watch compete, man. I would almost win, and then I would just do the dumbest stuff and
Like
get
a flying arm bar, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was I tried a flying triangle because I watched someone and never practiced it before. I landed on my back, bruised my ribs. It was really dumb. Don't try stuff in competition. you know,
For the first time.
for the first time. Yeah. So shout out to our coaches that are patient with us. But yeah, purple belt is when I started working, as we say, kind of often in jiu-jitsu now, systematically. You see that a lot, really, to sell instructionals, to be honest. But I started to kind of create a system for myself, and I really started playing those lapels, kind of inverting in ways that made sense. Okay.
Right.
And I started the shift happened. I started winning more than I was losing. And purple belt became really fun because not only did I find my game, but I started to see what I needed to work on.
Yeah.
And so that is also what I started to do at brown belt. I focus on what I was not good at.
Yeah.
Because I said, if I'm black belt, I don't want there to be a major hole in my game. Now there's a lot I need to work on. I love that. I'm starting to see that more and more.
Yeah.
But brown belt, I tried to work on the major holes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good word of encouragement for folks, is that if you feel like you're drowning right now, there's time, and time will show, where, you need to be paddling in this way or paddling in that way to where you can eventually do full freestyle in the ocean or something. So.
Yeah, and there's some nights, to speak about what you said earlier, I will go in with a goal of trying to hit certain techniques and seeing if I like the technique or not, or trying to fix a problem. And then there are some nights, where I just go into cruise control.
Yeah.
And I just enjoy jiu-jitsu. I don't even think about trying to pursue a certain move. I just try to take what the person gives me and not try to force stuff, or I try to get in, interesting positions, and I really enjoy some of those nights. I think that was tonight.
Yeah.
We just got done with no-gi a little while ago.
Best night of the week.
Yeah, that's it. Shout out. Sarah loves no-gi.
I do.
And so, that was just a lot of fun. I just let the training and the rounds, just take me with it like a tide, and sometimes those can be the most fun.
Absolutely. So just any parting note, because I want to be respectful of your time.
Yeah.
Any parting note that you might give somebody in selecting a home gym, or that kind of a journey? What would you say?
Yeah, no doubt. Professor Nathan has said this before, and I didn't quite understand it until I opened a gym, and so I want to extend what he told me, and which has just been solid advice. I would say, look up the instructor, the coaches that are there, because there can be a multiple, lineup of coaches. Try to see if you can find out their, history in jiu-jitsu. Look at their lineage, see if they have competition background. You could type usually the person's name and jiu-jitsu next to their name at Google, and within 2 to 3 pages, you can kind of find some history there. Whether it's flow grappling or AGF results, IBJJF results, you can see that. And so, first off, you don't ever have to compete. That's fine, but there's something to be said about a coach or coaches who have a clear competition, a record of their competition, because that means that they're battle tested, they've tried out the techniques, they can coach students who want to compete, and so I know you're not always active in competing, and that's not the only element, but that certainly I think is a big aspect.
Right.
And so look up the lineage, look up the competition, background, and try, I think you had said this on maybe an episode, and I don't mean to, speak for you.
That's
so
all right.
Maybe I could be wrong.
Could be.
But I think you said something about looking up the gym's maybe website, social media posts, maybe something like that.
Something like that.
Kind of looking at the background of the gym, almost try to dive in the gym virtually or online by looking at the photos and looking at what the gym is posting. You can get a good idea of the culture, not fully, but certainly a small aspect, by looking online at their social media post. And you can see a lot. Are they professional or not?
Right.
Is it a well-established gym or not, you know, the level of the students, and you can see all those things on social media, you know, checking out the website, and all of those things are important. So I think that whole package, and probably some more things I'm missing, you know, are really important. You know, go meet the person. A few of our students have done that, have come in, you know, have shaken my hand, have talked to me, have asked asked a little bit about myself, and have come in, checked the gym out, even tried a class. You know, guys, y'all can try a class without ever signing up somewhere. That should be a thing.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Know? And so, yeah, that's what I would say. And I know that there's probably some other things to take into consideration, but I think that will steer you
in the right direction.
Yeah.
We got Erik's 4 little ones scurrying around here. So
yeah, they've been good.
They have been good. All right. Well, any parting words before we sign out?
That's right. Perfect timing. All up to the end. That makes it fun.
Yes.
I'm protecting my retirement plan here. All of my 4 coaches right here.
There you go.
That's it. Parting words. Man, for listeners, just always find a way to love jiu-jitsu, whatever that is. You know, everyone will get bogged down. We'll have those lows, those valleys, but find a way to love jiu-jitsu. Remember why you love it, whether it's the community, camaraderie, you know, if it's trying out new techniques, if it's competition, staying in shape, just, you know, find out maybe you need to find out what that is and stay close to those things. And so I always, you know, try to say that. Just remember why you love it and hold those things close to you.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Professor, and yeah, thank you again.
Awesome. This has been fun. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.